Good morning, everyone. So, I wanted to give you guys a quick update on how everything is going. I know the past couple of videos, I've been trying to give you an update, and of course, it's been an epic fail. So, last month, I went to the hospital because I wasn't feeling good, and they diagnosed me with cellulitis, which is a skin infection on my leg. So basically, um, if you don't take care of it, it can be life threatening if you don't take care of it. Uh, so um, yeah, so I got that, which I don't know exactly how I got it. I mean, they do explain how you can catch it, but me particularly, I don't know how I got it. Because I got that plus a blood infection, which is like a strep infection or whatever. It's a bacterial infection you can get. I also got a blood infection, which I'm not exactly sure how I got that either. So I, when I asked the doctor, he explained to me how I got it. Well, how it can be, how you can get it, but to me, it's kind of a mystery on how I got it. Uh, if that makes sense. I am on antibiotics. I'm not going to show you the front half because of the I don't want you guys to see where it is and everything, but I'm on my last week of antibiotics. So I am doing a little bit better. I'm sorry, I should say that. I am doing a little bit better. I'm on my last week of antibiotics. I may have to get more depending on if the the site doesn't go down this next week. Um, I am going to give it a little bit, but um, I may need another dose of antibiotics it doesn't get if it doesn't get rid of it by probably next week or whatever, depending on how things go. But anyway, things have been okay so far. Um, since I've been discharged from the hospital, I've been getting care at home. Um, I have a home nurse that comes in and checks on me. Sometime like last, I think last week was the last time we drew blood, or I don't have to draw blood anymore. But before then, she was coming in a couple of times a week, maybe once or twice a week, to draw blood to see how the infection's doing. Uh, I do have like physical therapy and occupational therapy coming in once. Well, I had physical therapy coming in twice a week. This week will be once a week. Once a week starting this week. I only have like a few more sessions with her, and then I think I'm done with her. I think that's what she said, but I am not sure on that. I have to check up on that. I do have occupational therapy coming in to help me out with stuff and getting me things that I need for my apartment. Um, to kind of help with my recovery. Uh, I do have exercises that I have to do, which I don't like, but um, I'm doing them because that's something I have to do to strengthen my legs. The other thing I have is a walker, which I don't like using either, but I kind of have to use that um, when I'm either depending on like walking around my apartment or if I need it when I go out of the house. I'm supposed to be using it, but I've been using my cane more because Mark doesn't like me using the walker. But it doesn't really matter if he likes it or not, but we're not going to get into that. But anyway, so um, things have changed a little bit on how I do things. But I do have to say, I am feeling and doing a lot better. I've done blood work. The blood is clean. I don't have any more issues when it comes to the blood. Uh, right now, it's just on top of the skin. I have like a really bad skin infection. Still, well, it's not too bad. Like I said, it's gotten better. Um, I do have to say though, it's gotten uh not too bad. I do still have some patches a little bit on my leg. Uh and some of the skin is peeling. Sorry, I don't want to draw you guys a graphic memory of that, but anyway. So things have gotten better. I am doing a sleep study because I do need to have a sleep app or a sleep machine at nighttime because when I was in the hospital, my oxygen dropped a lot at nighttime. So that's so things are interacting with the AFib. So I have to have oxygen at night. I have a hard time breathing at night. So I realized that when I was at the hospital too, because my heart was acting a little funky as well. But anyway, things have gotten better. Uh, I've been I've been out sleeping on the couch for like maybe 2 months. Uh, last night was the first night I finally got to sleep in my bed. Um, I do know that I have been having a hard time sleeping in my bed now because I have a bed rail on my bed. Well, not a bed rail, but something like that on my bed to kind of help me with getting up and then out of my bed. So not liking that. Um, but that's not that's okay too, I guess. I do have to have um I don't know. I am getting another walker though. Um, something different than this other one I got from the hospital. Um, and I'm hoping to see which one I do good on, and we're probably gonna stick with that. Um, but yeah, other than that, I've been doing okay. But the only thing I don't like is my morning or my routine has changed a lot since then. Um, Actually, you know what? Let me get my coffee and I will explain my routine. I'll be in the kitchen. I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. So, like I was explaining, my routine is a little bit different now. Um, since I've been home from the hospital, I really haven't been able to do much. So, when I get up in the mornings, usually I'll make my coffee, make my breakfast. I usually do my medications up. Um, I'll take my medications on top of my antibiotics, and then I'll do my vitals, which I still have to do this morning, but I'll do my vitals. I even do my exercises in the morning. I have exercises I gotta do every day to strengthen up my legs and whatnot. So I do have stretches that I do right here. Um, and then I still gotta fill my box up. And then I have a notebook here which I keep track of everything. Um, like my vitals, weight, water intake, whatever. Like whatever they want me to keep track of. Um, this notebook is what I keep track of it in. Um, or even like sometimes I'll write it on my phone and then just write it down later. Um, Usually it depends, I guess. I do notice that I get out of breath a lot, so I do need to take a lot of breaks. There are some things that I've had to change, and I, I'm so not liking it. So when I do my errands, I can only maybe do like one or two errands at a time because otherwise I get tired so easily. Um, but for now, it's like whatever I can't do, I'll send Jason out to do it. Um, Um, for the apartment, which I still gotta break down these boxes. So like maybe I'll do like maybe one or two things in the home. Low impact, um, low maintenance chores, or like maybe like doing uh like if I do let's say that if I clean the refrigerator or whatever, um then I'm done for the day. Or if I do the refrigerator and if I can do something else, like maybe a sit down chore, I can do that. I basically try not to do too much and I try not to overdo it. Um, my doctor will say, don't overdo it. Your body is trying to get back to normal, and forcing yourself is not going to help any. Well, person that I have my episode home supports is a lot different, but we won't get into that. So yeah, we do like um, small chores, small like short rides out. Um, I try doing short walks. I really can't do long walks. Long walks are hard for me. So, um, I am going to get my nails. Well, get my my toes clipped or my toenails clipped. Um, so that is another thing that well, I have a foot doctor that does it because I can't do my own toenails because I'm diabetic. So, or borderline. I would say borderline diabetic. For a long time, I thought it was a regular diabetic or type 2, but apparently I'm borderline with a little bit of hypoglycemia, which my sugars drop a little bit. So I do need a lot of sugar for diabetes, I guess. Um, I found that out with a blood test, I guess. Um, but anyways, as I was saying, I need to get that done because you know how you like when your foot itches and you scratch it with the other foot. Um, you can also scratch like you can also cut it or cut at the back of your leg or scrape it or whatever. You can cause a wound to the back of your leg or back of your foot if your nails are long. So the other thing I wanted to get into was I wanted to explain a little bit of what happened to me, uh, if that makes sense. So in November, I uh, was having some leg swelling. Um, and so it was a Friday. I was having some leg swelling. So the Jason and Mark told me to put my wraps on. So I did. I put my wraps on because my legs looked a little bit more swollen than they usually are. And then Saturday I noticed some red tint to it, but again, um and a little swelling, but it didn't dawn on me that there was something wrong, because technically, to begin with, I have lymphedema. And with lymphedema, you normally have swelling in the legs anyway, so it didn't dawn on me that something was wrong. And then, so that Sunday, Sunday morning, uh, I noticed that it was more red. It wasn't just my foot. My foot was swelled up. My leg was swelled up and very red. It was red to the, it was very hot to the touch. It was burning. Um, it was very hot. Um, and I didn't like that it was hot. Um, and so I didn't like that. So yeah, but it didn't really seem right to me. I'm sorry, somebody was texting me. Um, it didn't really seem right. Um, because it was warm. It had like a glossy shiny to it. It just was very painful. Um, I had the chills. I was like shaking up. So basically, I was telling Jason I felt really cold, and we thought it was because I was sitting by the window because I was on my, excuse me, on my computer, but I could not get warm. I was so hot, not too so hot, but I was so cold. I was shivering, so shaking so badly. My bones ached. My I could feel it like throughout my body that I just could not get warm. So uh, I took my medications, and then um, I got in the shower, and then uh, to see if that would work, but it didn't work. And I was saying, Jason, I don't want to panic you, but, I said I may have to go to the hospital because, I said I may have to go to the hospital because, nothing was working, and, I took my vitals, and my vitals were all over the place. Um, so he took one look at me, and he's like, "You're going." Apparently, my face was red, but my lips were white. I was like very hot to the touch, basically burning up. And so Jason called an ambulance for me, and the they couldn't get an IV in, so they're like, "Well, we're gonna wait until we get to the hospital to put an IV in." Um, So when I got to the hospital, um, they took me back, um, and their of course their first their their first question was, "How are you feeling today?" And I was like, pretty crummy. Like I wasn't feeling good at all. I could not even walk on my leg. It was horrible. Um, so they took a look at my leg. They did all kinds of blood work. Um, they took my temperature. My temperature was 104. So basically, my temperature was high. Uh, my blood pressure was very low. My oxygen was also pretty low. Um, but they were more concerned about me going septic because of the really bad um, because of everything was low. My blood count was not where it was supposed to be. Um, my potassium was low. Everything was pretty much low. Uh, they were concerned about the blood infection and the skin infection and trying to figure out like how I got all that. Um, so the first thing that they needed to do was they got me with IVs for antibiotics. The next thing that they needed to do was we had to put an IV, and you can see the mark right there. Uh, they had to put a line in my neck, which was not fun. Um, I would not recommend getting that. I mean, if you have to get it, you have to, but I would not recommend it because you have to be awake for the whole thing. I mean, yes, they do numb you up, but it's still very uncomfortable where they have to put it in there. So what they do is they put that in, plus then they'll put a port. They have to cut your neck to put a port in, and then they sew it up. But you're awake for the whole thing because that's like a main, like a jugular. It's like a main vein, basically. So you do have to be awake for that, which is not fun. So they had to put um medication in there to bring my blood pressure up. Because, like I was explaining before, my blood pressure was low. They gave me medication for blood pressure, potassium. That was disgusting. Um, for everything that they needed to give me medication for. They put me on IV antibiotics. So I was in the ICU for a while. And then they switched me over to a regular room. And so I was in the hospital for 4 days. And then that Thursday they sent me home. And which wasn't great because what happened was, so that Thursday they sent me home. My husband wasn't happy that they sent me home because my leg didn't look any better. And then that Thursday night, um, they looked at my leg. Well, Jason looked at my leg and he's like, "Honey, your leg's leaking." And I'm like, "What?" I look down and there's like fluid coming out of my leg, which um I'm like, well, I look down like this and I'm like, well, that's not good. So so basically it's normal, but not normal. It's normal for it to come. So what happens is when your leg is has a buildup of fluid, sometimes your leg will the fluid needs to go somewhere, so it will start coming out of the leg. The bad part is that if you have a lot of leakage, it can break down the skin and start another infection. So if your leg does leak, you want to go to the hospital right away because you don't want another infection to start. So, but I didn't know any of that. So the next morning, um, so I called the and so basically I was supposed to do an intake with an in-home nurse. So I called her up. We did my intake, all that, and she said that that Sunday I was supposed to have someone come out to take a look at my leg. Well, I'm like, well, is there any way there if someone can come out and check my leg that day? Because I was explaining to her what was going on, and she's like, I'm sorry, unfortunately, they can't do it, but if you may have to go to urgent care and get your leg looked at. So I'm like, okay. So then I called my caseworker up, um, and explained to her that my leg was leaking. I told her what the nurse or the person said at the in-home nurse said actually, and she's like, "Well, I can't really come down right now, but if you can wait, um, after these few meetings that I have, I'll take you down." Well, we didn't know exactly how urgent it was, but so she did her meetings. She came down, picked me up, and she took me to urgent care. Once I got in to urgent care, and they're looking at me like, "Why did they let you out of the hospital? This is not good." So the 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 doctor looked at it, and then they had a specialist in the field who deals with a lot of this stuff look at it, and she's like, if you were my family member, I would want you in the hospital. So, of course, while I was at the clinic, um, they called an ambulance to take me to the hospital. Of course, my caseworker couldn't go with me because she had another engagement that she had to go get to. Not engagement, but another client that she had to go see. Um, so I waited for the ambulance. The ambulance took me to the hospital. I called my husband on the way to let him know that I was going. So when I got to the hospital, I was in the CDU. I think that's what it's called. It's where, they observe you, and so they kind of keep an eye on you to kind of figure out what to do next with you, basically. So I spent the night in the CDU, and then they came in and was gonna discharge me again, and I said no. I don't feel comfortable at home right now. And it wasn't because of Jason, it's just because of my leg, how things were. I couldn't even get up the stairs. How can I get to my apartment if I can't even get up the stairs? My leg was huge. Plus, it started getting like some white blotchy spots on my leg. So they went and got the doctor, and they're like, nope, you're not going home. You're going upstairs. So I'm like, okay, good. We established that. So I was in the hospital for like maybe another week, almost 2 weeks. I got out the 19th. So basically, I'm like, stop playing me, doctor, because he's like, well, depending on your blood work, you may be able to go home with a PICC line, meaning that um nothing was keeping me at the hospital. The only thing that was keeping me at the hospital was my infection on my leg. And they're like, sorry, I broke it now. So they're like, oh, well, we can let you out with like a PICC line so you can do your IV antibiotics at home because we know you want to go home. And I'm like, yes, please. So, so the 19th, that morning, I was all excited. Blood work came back great. I got to come home. The only thing is that like I went and got a PICC line put in. I sat there, ate my lunch, or I was eating my lunch. They came in to put to do another IV antibiotic before they sent me home. I called up Mark because I had no way of getting home, so I had to call him up and be like, "Will you be willing to come get me because I'm kind of like in the hospital with no way to get home, and I didn't want to call my parents because my parents live an hour away, and my dad's kind of like, oh, do I really have to go get her? So, a joke, by the way. Um, my dad's great. That's a joke, by the way. Um, so he came and got me. They sent me home. Uh, my husband was happy to see me. So at that point, like, I started with the in-home nurses. That's the point where I started with the in-home nurses and occupational therapy, physical therapy, um, and so everything was going good until it wasn't going good, and then I had to go back to the hospital because my nurse um felt like it didn't look very. My nurse Evie, we'll call her Evie because I don't want to give out, you know, HIPAA, don't want to give out names. So Evie felt that my leg wasn't doing well. So she sent me back to the hospital just to kind of to, um, she didn't like how my leg was looking. And so I saw a specialist at the hospital. My blood work was good still. The problem is the antibiotics that I was on was a very low dose. So they didn't like that. So basically, um, so what happened is they took me off of that antibiotic and put me on cefadroxil. I think that's what it is. Cefadroxil, 1,000 milligrams of that, which is a higher dose of medication that would help with the infection. And I think since I've been on that, I have been doing a lot better. My leg has been doing a lot better. Like I said, I only have like another 1 more week worth of antibiotics, um, which is good. Um, so we're hoping that um, after um, this dose, that it will be gone. But if not, I may have to, depending on the site, I may need another dose of antibiotic. But keeping my fingers crossed that I won't have to do it. But if I do, I will. Um, but other than that, everything is looking good. Um, that's my trip to the hospital. Like I said, I've been sleeping out here for a month. Finally got to sleep in the bed. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I don't mean to burp. But this video is long enough. I'm gonna end it here. If you guys have any questions, comments, let me know, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.